Nathan Cleary and Reece Walsh. Day and night, oil and water. In an interview the other day, Hollywood Sylvester Stallone said the hardest character to play is yourself. And we get the feeling that's exactly what Nathan Cleary and Reece Walsh are doing. Being themselves. Panthers Cleary, so sophisticated, worldly and cultured, quietly confident, with the calmness of a machine as he pins the opposition deep into the corners and puts them to the count.
So you think you could tell?
Nathan Cleary's been practicing his goal kicking since age 3. The big moments everyone carries on about never seem that big to him. Think those 20 minutes late in the 2023 grand final. Yeah, and no one remembers this more vividly than the Broncos.
Cleary scores the try that locks up the grand final.
Enter Reece Walsh. Think the Gold Coast glitter strip. Think short shorts and nail polish. And that's just the blokes. Most fullbacks are support runners, but at the Broncos, Walsh is the spearhead. Club's chairman, Carl Morris, and CEO Dave Donaghy were flying from Brisbane to Canberra for the recent second qualifying final, when the guy across the aisle said, "Are you down for the footy?" Turns out he coached Walsh long ago, even before the kid went to that wonderful rugby league nursery, Keebra Park State High. The stranger sitting opposite then said you never knew what he was going to do next, how he just tore around everywhere. So he'd handcuff him when he arrived at the ground and in the game play him at dummy half, so he had a set task. Still plays the same way, and if Cleary's calm, Walsh is the cyclone.
Reece Walsh out to the left-hand side, just cuts Cleary in half.
That's the thing about champion sports people. No two are exactly the same, and sometimes they're complete opposites. Just like Reece Walsh and Nathan Cleary. So 3 o'clock Sunday, marvel at the difference. It's the Broncos and the Panthers, the last stop before the 2025 NRL Grand Final, right here on Fox League.
Welcome to NRL 360, Rugby League from every angle, brought to you by Regain. Joining me again, the great Paul Crawley. Let's bring the journos in, Brent Reid and Michael Carayannis. And our top story, brought to you by the BYD Shark 6 Madge Bands TV crew from training. Crawls.
Yeah, well, Madge loves playing mind games, doesn't he? So he's up there today, apparently, and he tried to turn it into State of Origin and told them they could get a little bit of vision at the start of the session, and there was a bit of a blow-up, I imagine, from the local media.
Is this a big deal or what? I mean, I don't mind this.
No, I mean, Madge, everything he's touching at the moment's turned to gold, so I've got no issue with him doing it. I mean, I'm sure they'll lift the ban next week and it'll be.
Are you supporting banning the media?
No, I'm not actually. Now I think about it, no, I'm not actually. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I do. I think it's good.
Yeah, why?
Well, he did it in Origin.
Mate, we're the conduits to the fans, Braith.
Yeah, but it's one of their last sessions.
Come on, man. It's an open field. It's a public ground.
You don't need to give all access, do you?
It's public ground, mate.
Is it public ground?
It's not uncommon for us to be told, all right, you need to leave venues and stop recording and things like that. But if it's an open ground, like I remember, like New South Wales train at Coogee Oval, sometimes they kick the media up, but you can stand in the street and watch.
Yeah. I think the issue is there that club, forever and a day, ever since Wayne was there, it's always been open. When Siebes was there, Kevy was there, it was open. And Madge has closed it down this year. They're not used to it up there.
Do you think he would do it for a reason? Do you think that there's something he wants
I think it's
no one
all
to
year,
see,
Cross.
like Ezra Mann or...
It's been all year. It's been all year that this shift in procedure, as Reedy said, it used to be an open door policy at Brisbane, but Madge has implemented the way most Sydney clubs operate. So it's not something that's new this week. The media ban's new, but not sort of locking media out of training sessions.
So it's not about pressure. It's not about, semi-final week, prelim game. He's changing, paranoid, nothing like that.
No, he does love circling the wagon so Madge, doesn't he? And a bit of a chip on the shoulder, but I can't imagine it, Braith. I mean, they're going pretty good at the moment. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game.
And they do have big ins, right?
Yeah.
So you got Reynolds and Mam, and they've got to shift there and key positions. And most coaches, I'd say the majority of clubs, don't want to give too much away.
Calls might be right that they want to keep some things under wraps, but
because they'll probably play a bit differently from the last time Adam Reynolds was playing,
That's what I mean.
right? Because of the way Reece Walsh has emerged, Ben Hunt back to 6, and how they're going to use exactly Ezra off the bench.
All right, now, Jared Hayne, Ben Barber, they got on hot streaks throughout the season, and we're seeing one right now, Reece Walsh. Can he continue this hot streak like those two that I just mentioned and take this team all the way?
Well, I've got no doubt he can, Braith. No doubt at all. I mean, I said you have to be in the top 4 to win the comp. They finished in the top 4, so they're still alive in my rankings. And the way he's playing, he wins games single-handedly.
So Penrith and Cronulla are gone.
Well, I've said that.
In your
I've said that all year, mate.
They are in the top 4 now.
He has said that all year.
Yeah, I've said that all
but
year.
give
They're
him
not in the
some
top 4
credit.
now. The top 4 is done and dusted.
Well, they're the 4 remaining top sides. So
Yeah, but they're not in the top 4. You've got to finish
You've
in
already
the top
got your
4.
grand final. It's Melbourne and Sharks. No, sorry.
It's got to be Melbourne-Brisbane, doesn't it?
Melbourne-Brisbane, sorry.
But, mate, the way he's playing, Braith, we saw him in Canberra 2 weeks ago. I mean, he was unbelievable in that 20 minutes to level that game in the second half. Mick and I watched it again today, and some of the things he can do, he is a freak.
It does remind you of Hayne.
It does.
2009,
And
the end of
Barber's
that
good
season,
comparison
and
too.
Barber in,
Yeah.
what was that, 2012? The thing about both of them, they carried him to the grand final, but neither won.
Yeah.
But this is Hayne. He was so great.
Yeah, just red
That
hot.
season, he just cut them apart. I think they got beaten in the last round by the Dragons, who were the minor premiers, I think, and then Parramatta beat them in the next game.
What it does highlight, when you look at Barber and the run he was on, you look at Jared Hayne and the run he was on, and they just fell short. It does kind of highlight that one player really can't carry you all the way to victory. I'm sure it's happened in the past at some point, but it's very difficult for one guy to just get on a hot streak and just carry the team all the way to the grand final against the best teams in the competition.
I feel like, unlike some of these other sides, that Reece Walsh has players that can't match him, but can almost get to. Like
definitely.
if Ezra runs hot, right? Tony Staggs runs hot.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference between Reece Walsh and this Broncos side compared to some of these other. Like Jared Hayne was a one-man band.
I'm not for a second saying that the Broncos are a one-man
No, of
band,
course,
or
but-
that they just rely on him.
Yeah.
They're a much more formidable team and have some X factor really all across the park. So, but he has been brilliant. Now, could the game define the legacies of Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt?
I think it can. I think it can, definitely. Like, if you go through the individual careers here, so Adam Reynolds won a premiership as a 24-year-old in 2014, but since then, he lost 2021 at South Sydney and he missed that vital goal near the end of the game that could have locked the scores. And in 2023, they were home for all money in that game. And any way you look at it, Adam lost control of the game and Cleary grabbed hold of it. With Ben Hunt, the 2015 grand final, it's arguably the greatest grand final of all time. And the memory you take out of it is Ben Hunt dropping the ball.
I think everyone remembers this moment. You got to feel sorry for him.
You do. And then 7 seasons at the Dragons followed that. And in 7 seasons, he made the finals once in 2018. And then you go to this year, and yes, they won in week 1 of the finals. But, he lands the match-winning field goal. Prior to that, he had a pretty ordinary game. In fact, I'd say it was almost a shocker.
I think it's more important for Ben Hunt because, as you pointed out, Crawls, Adam's won a comp, Ben hasn't. And I think that's the key, right? I think, Adam's not perhaps under as much pressure from a legacy perspective because of what he did at South, the 2014 premiership, what it meant for that club, whilst Ben doesn't have it yet. And that's the grand final memory everyone's got of Ben Hunt. So I think in terms of legacy, this week and next week means if they get there, means a lot more to Ben Hunt.
Gordon's mentioned it previously, though, in respect to Adam's 2014 grand final, and taking nothing away from the part he played in that. But at that time of his career, you had Sam Burgess, you had Greg English, you had John Sutton. Like, they were the dominant forces in that team.
He's still got a ring, though.
He sure does. He sure does, and you don't take that away. Yeah. But as a leader, he was the skipper of South. And he was the skipper of the Broncos. And it's just in that respect, these two guys will go down as among the great halfbacks of their generations. But the lasting legacy people look back at premierships.
Yeah, I'd argue, Cross, that Adam Reynolds needs to walk away with 2 premierships to go down as a great of his generation. And for mine, Ben Hunt's probably not there without a premiership. So I think you're right for both those players. They need to walk away with a premiership ring for different reasons.
Now, the Broncos, no Patrick Carrigan suspended. Billy Walters out with injury. Have we overlooked or underestimated the losses of these two? Not much has been spoken about it.
I think Paddy is a huge loss for him, Paddy Carrigan. I think they've named Tyson Smoothie at lock. I mean, you know, with due respect to Tyson Smoothie, he's not Pat Carrigan. And I think that's a huge out for Brisbane. I think that's been a little bit overlooked and underestimated. Billy's been playing great footy, but they've got Ezra Mam and Ben Hunt who can play where Billy was playing the 6 jersey. So I think they've got cover for him. But Pat Carrigan's a huge out for the Broncos.
Yeah, obviously with Billy Walters, it's offset by the fact that Ezra and Adam are back now, right? But you look at Pat Carrigan, well, the best comparison is probably on the opposite side. It's Isaiah Yeo.
Yeah.
If he's out for Penrith, what are we talking about all week?
Yeah.
So I feel like it has totally been understated, his importance to that side, his link man ability in the middle, the foil for Payne Haas. Now it's all on Payne Haas's shoulders to control that middle. He had a great support in Pat Carrigan over the last couple of weeks. So I feel like we've really understated how much of an out he is.
All right, the Panthers embrace the samurai spirit. We've seen this before, haven't we?
Couple of times. Yeah, we had the Top Gun, the Undisputed. We've had a few over the years. I love what they do. We normally find it out after the grand final.
You love it? You're a fan?
It's one of the things we do on Sunday night after the grand final. We go in the sheds and try and find out what their theme was for the year.
Can you explain what it is?
Samurai, got no idea, Cross. Absolutely no idea. But, you know, it seems like it's working for him of late.
Yeah, but as Reedy said, it's sort of like Nathan let the cat out of the bag a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is not what they usually do. Come grand final night, it's an open slather. They'll basically tell you everything, right? So they've downplayed it this week, but obviously there is a hidden meaning there for the Penrith Panthers.
Whatever it's doing, it's working for that bloke. Because he's playing great footy.
Are you in Top Gun?
Always.
Or Goose?
Goose.
All right, has there been a change in the culture at Penrith? Have they gone from a much maligned team to an admired one after the last few years?
Well, I think the way they've had to win the comp this year, to get to the situation where they're at, has really given them some admirers, no doubt about that. The fact that, you know, they'll last, a lot of people wrote them off and they've done it the hard way this year. And there is a softening of sentiment out there, I think, you'll find. You know, I think the Warriors or Canberra were probably everyone's side for those that didn't have a team in the top 8. But I think a lot of people are loving the fact that this is a rarefied air, something that we may never witness again. We're in the midst of greatness when it comes to the
I reckon it
Panthers.
helps a couple of the spikier characters aren't there either. Jerome's gone, Steve Crichton's gone.
But there was
blokes everyone loved to hate.
Even in their early seasons, though, they were different personalities. Like, you got this stuff here.
Yeah.
You know, there was the stuff
Taruva.
involving Joey DePine at Canberra.
Yeah.
They were in your face.
Yes.
They were out to pick a war. They wanted to back themselves to take on anyone. But no question, Braith, over the years, they have mellowed.
Yeah.
I think it's intentional. Even last year when Jahrome was still there, he came across as a different person, and there seemed to be just a more, I wouldn't say...
Maybe they're just so used to winning now.
But do you think along the way that they've wanted to change and...
Maybe.
Because I think it's definitely happened. There's definitely been a change in the way that they carried on.
Have they just naturally matured as well, given their ages?
Perhaps.
The fact that a lot of them are husbands and fathers now as well. I feel like they've just gone through that natural level of maturity that happens at some point.
But it's definitely got to the stage where when you talk to people now, they're almost gravitating towards the Panthers. Like, they've become a very liked team, whereas 3 or 4 years ago they were very polarising.
I will say, Cross, off the field, they were always highly respectful, right? They had this layer about them on the field, but it never and even Jahrome and blokes that you mentioned, they didn't carry that off the field, right? So it's
he
always
never carried a grudge against you, did he?
The Gronk. How good was it?
sweet.
What did he call you?
Gronk. Call him a Gronk.
Was it the Gronk?
The Gronk, yeah.
Was it only one, or was there someone else he went at as well?
Hoops.
He went,
sorry.
the Eggman.
Anyway, Katoni Staggs has issued a warning to the Panthers' fragile left side defence ahead of Sunday's Suncorp blockbuster.
Yeah, obviously me and Renault's been together for a while now, and he knows, what I need, and we know that their left edge struggles a little bit. You know, so our main focus is breaking them down and then hitting their edges. You know, we try not to think about that. We've moved forward from that now, and you know, we're not even being talked this week about what happened in the past. We just thought about focus on ourselves and the game this week.
Have you made your decision on where you're going to play rep football?
No, I haven't at the moment. I'm just sitting off that, and I've spoke to both of the coaches, Wolfie and Kevy. You know, I just told them I just want to play this season out and play good footy with the Bronx, and I'll have a think after that.
Broncos, the target, Panthers, left edge. Are they vulnerable? And I'll start this. Tony Staggs, what a year he's had. He's so powerful, and he's been the constant for the Broncos. I think the most consistent player, alongside with Payne Haas, for the whole year. Reece Walsh, yes, we know how great he's been. That's been the last couple of months. But for the whole year, Tony Staggs, and it's been his damaging, robust runs. And it is where they are vulnerable, Penrith. McLean, Talangi.
Yep.
They have, on the weekend, second half, you know, the Dogs exposed them to a degree, and they have been exposed a little bit throughout the season, early on more so.
Yeah.
They got it right, but again, on the weekend, we saw where we think Brisbane are going to target.
Well, I spoke to someone after that game from the Bulldogs, and they said, we showed Brisbane how to beat them. We showed them the blueprint. Because those two blokes, you mentioned Talangi and McLean, they've both been outstanding this season.
They have.
Let's not take anything away from them. But they missed 16 tackles between them last week.
Yeah.
Which
16
is,
between them.
I think it was 10 and 6, which is insane
10
numbers.
10 and 6?
Yeah, well, that's what I read.
There's no question in the world.
That's what I
It's a lot in a dominating performance.
Yeah,
I believe it. I'm just asking. Because it's a big...
Sometimes these stats can be a bit misleading, but it was a lot. Let's just go with a lot.
Because it's a big number. You know, that's why I went back at you. I wasn't questioning you at all.
No, I was stunned as well. Yeah. But Jacob Preston and Lachlan Galvin tore them up down that edge last week. So, you know, you've got Katoni, who's one of the best tackle-busting centres in the NRL. If they don't go there, they're mad.
Well, he's a beast. And like you said, he's been in great form. The one game I'll go to, and the Bulldogs did expose him, it was the one good thing to come out of the Bulldogs game last week, is how they really rattled him out there. The game I'll go back to with Casey McLean, though, was against the Bulldogs, when he marked up on Stephen Crichton that day.
He did
probably about 10 weeks ago or whatever it was. And I remember there was so much focus, and during that game and at the end of that game, you could see the pride in Nathan Cleary, where he went up to him and he patted him on the back. And it was like, I thought at the time it was McLean's coming of age moment. And so they have got it in them.
Of course he does.
To fix the problem, but they definitely do need to fix the problem.
I think, you know, when you're playing a big game like this and you're looking at a team like the Panthers, you're looking for any deficiency at all, any possibility of trying to look for a chink in their armour, and that's probably it. You know, when you that's the only one that's glaringly obvious, and you know, this is what you look for, and this is what Brisbane, and especially when you got the weapon of Staggs, like send him there all day.
And a lot's going to rest on Scott Sorensen's shoulders as well, because he's that veteran on that side of the field.
He missed 6 as well, I think.
Are you just plucking all these numbers out?
I've read that.
You're really on your
22 between
you got
them.
lots of numbers tonight.
I've been in
I hear you've got a few more later on too.
I've got some good ones for you.
Some good ones later. Stay tuned, everyone, for this. It's going to be amazing.
Sorry, Mick,
all right, now the bit of rivalry nights on Friday night. Some memorable moments in this long-running feud between the Storm and the Sharks, Crawl.
Oh, hasn't there been some moments over the years? Mick Ennis patting Cameron Smith's head, the 2016 Grand Final, Luke Lewis and Wade Graham, how they used to almost kill Cooper Cronk out there. There's been some moments.
Whitey knocking Ben Ross out.
Ben Ross with the elbow there, and obviously you had Will Chambers in amongst it a lot as well. Him and Paul Gallen had some famous slanging matches, didn't they? So, and then obviously they culminated in a grand final win with the Cronulla Sharks. So, yeah, it's been... It was one of the great rivalries in the game for a couple of seasons, wasn't it? Like the intensity, the sledging, the fact Cam Smith got sin bin at Shark Park. It's been everything.
So they do hate each other, and the Sharks have been known as Mr. Nice Guys until the last few weeks. You know, they've got their backs up. And
they've turned up the intensity.
They have, right? So this could get fiery.
Could do. They've got a bit of a chip on their shoulder at the moment, don't they, the Sharks? So it could do, Braith. I don't know. Who'll create the fire in these two sides this weekend?
What are you saying? They're soft?
Well, I'm not saying they're soft. I'm not sure there's the Gallons of the world and the Will Chambers of the world.
You seen Ronaldo play?
Well, Ronaldo's a bit loose, that is true, yeah. He's
Nelson's
a
not out there.
Nelson's not out
The
there.
thing about the Sharks,
I don't
do you
see him
think
getting
the
engaged in
Sharks
stuff
play
like
with great discipline? Like, that's been the key to their success almost, hasn't it? Everyone does their jobs and they play with great discipline and it keeps them in the games. I couldn't see it potentially going that way.
Yeah, I don't either, actually, the more we talk about it. Craig going in front of the cameras this morning with some good news for Storm fans.
Yeah, we'll see how he gets through today, but from what he's done the last couple of weeks, he'll be playing for sure. As I said, you know, like, there'll be something that have to go drastically wrong today. He won the Dally M last year, so, and he's played in grand finals. You know, for him to come back in, that's a big boost for, you know, all the, you know, the players, but, you know, the club as well. So, yeah, like I say, hopefully he gets through today, but we're pretty confident that'll happen.
Craig Bellamy there saying hopefully he gets through today. I can tell you right now, Jahrome Hughes is playing this week. There has been a lot of speculation, rumours, innuendo. You asked me before the show,
I did,
because it is circulating
it is
amongst the media, but he is playing. He has been given the green light and he will definitely start for the Melbourne Storm.
It's interesting.
Do you think it's a good idea?
Well, you don't know. All you know is that Jahrome Hughes and Craig Bellamy have come to the conclusion that they're happy with it. They feel it's a safe option. I just keep going back to the fact that during the week, Cooper Cronk said if he had played that grand final and that opposition had known that he had a broken scapula, they would have lost the game. That was his quote. And so that gives you an understanding of how much Jahrome's going to be targeted. And then if something does go wrong and your man Peasant's not there, it's Tyrone Wishart that has to go out. And he's done it before, but it's a different
Let's just have a look at the numbers quickly here. Hughes' influence on the team since 2020, his win rate is 77%. Without him, it's 54%, so significant, over 23%. But, that's my concern too, though, Crawls, is that, you know, Jahrome needs to play if he wants to play and if he's fit, you know, and they're more chance for looking at the numbers and just watching him play the last few years. Much better chance of winning the game with him on the field. If he does, if he does get injured early though, they're in some deep, you know what? They are, because Wishart is probably the best 14 in the comp, but he's not a 7. And I fear that if he gets injured early, it could go pear-shaped. So I pray for Melbourne and Jahrome that he gets through the game, and even if he gets through the majority of it, they're a big chance of winning. But if he doesn't and he goes down early, they're in some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they're a smart club though, Braith. We know that. It's a calculated gamble, right? I mean, I spoke to the doctor last week who did the surgery on Jahrome, and he said...
Can you talk us through, because is it a broken wrist or a forearm?
It's a forearm, I believe. But he also,
did he have a plate?
He's got a plate and screws in there.
That's only 2.5 weeks ago.
2.5 now. It'll be just on 3, just short of 3 weeks when the game starts.
That's not a long... That's a short recovery.
No, it's a short recovery. But he said he used extra strong plates and screws.
Okay.
Not the normal ones, extra strong ones.
From Brent.
But he seemed very confident that he'd be okay and he'd get through the game. And he was a doctor who performed the surgery, Brace. So, look, I mean, it's a risk. We all know it's a risk, but I think it's a risk they've got to take. When you see those stats, well, actually, I take that back. Because Jonah's played so well, they probably don't need to take the risk. But it does improve their chance to win the footy game because we've seen the stats and we know what he means to that footy team.
Well, they took a calculated risk in the game against the Broncos, didn't they? Because he was coming back from a dislocated shoulder and he went out there and it was clear that his tackling technique wasn't the same and as a result he gets a fractured arm. So,
it'd be interesting to see
calculated risk can go wrong. It's
they've got to try and get him. You brought up the Cooper Cronk grand final. I mean, Melbourne tried to get at him all night, couldn't get anywhere near Cooper Cronk in that grand final.
But that's what Cronk was saying, that they didn't know it was as bad as...
But they knew he had an injury and they couldn't get at him, Crawl. So, it's one thing to say that, they're going to go after Jahrome and test him out, but you've got to get there and you've got to make it happen. You can't become preoccupied with it.
I reckon the Sharks would fancy their chances. Now, meanwhile, Craig Fitzgibbon won't be telling his team to tone things down after a noticeable shift in their attitude.
The boys are just sticking up for themselves and they've got the confidence and belief and they're just backing themselves and sticking up for each other in the club, and I think it's great. I don't know how much they are hearing or seeing, but it's clearly had an effect on some of them, and the fact that they feel that way is great. I'm not going to stop that. You get hardened by your heartache, and we've had a bit in the semis for the previous years, so we've got a challenge on our hands, but we're excited for it, and the boys do believe that we are in a better position than we have been in semis past.
Fitzy loves the new hard-nosed attitude from his men at the Sharks, and knowing Fitzy, that doesn't surprise me because he had that hard-nosed edge himself, Crawls, and there has been a shift. There's been a significant shift in not only their performances but their attitude.
Yeah, well, you can see it clearly in Nicho Hynes. You know, like he's walking around with a chip on his shoulder and having the angry pills, and sometimes, you know, from the outside looking in, you think, what are you whinging about? What are you complaining about? Who has disrespected you? We've gone back over your records, but the thing I do like about what's happening with Nicho at the moment is that whatever it takes, he's lifted to the challenge. And his last 2 games, last weekend in particular, he started to play the football that we've known for so long he was capable of. Since he won the 2022 Dally M medal, we've known he had this in him. And he's lit that fire to get the best out of him.
Sometimes in players, certain traits make them play better. You know, and for Nicho right now, maybe playing angry, you know, he's really, it's lit his fire, you know, because I remember even when I played it, you know, people would often criticise me because I was quite animated and over the top, and then so I tried to tone it down, and I felt I didn't play as well. Like there's certain traits in the way that you play that make you play better, and I think with him, he's been such a calm player. You know, he's got a cool head, but you know, you don't really see much change in emotion when he plays, and to see this anger and to use it as motivation, it's really brought out the best in him, and I think he should just keep letting it ride.
Yeah, there's a steel about him that we probably haven't seen before, Braith. You can see it in his eyes, you can see it in his tone, and you can see it in the way he's playing. I think he and Braden Trindle, for a large chunk of their partnership, one of them has played well, the other one hasn't. It's the first time they've been in sync together. And I think that's what's propelled him to a top 4 now. All
right, stick around, journos, and the cricket is back. Australia is set to take on New Zealand in a 3-match T20 series, and it all begins October 1 on Fox Cricket. Back and more news out of Belmore today. Adam O'Brien in talks to join the Bulldogs. Mick, how true is this? How far ahead is it?
Yeah, it's definitely true, Braith. He met with the Bulldogs today, Adam O'Brien, regarding a potential position at the club next year. Obviously, no deal is done or signed, but they've been in a couple of meetings now, and they're looking to get him on board next year to work with the side's attack.
Okay, good.
He's obviously had some interest from Manly as well, but I dare say if they can get a deal done, Adam O'Brien will be at the Bulldogs next year.
How did this come about? Who does he replace, and do we like him?
Well, he's got a relationship with Cameron Ciraldo. I think they coached together with Country a few years ago and have maintained that relationship, really.
Yeah, I think it had been a reshuffle. Jason Taylor, he'd stayed there on the coaching staff, but he'd moved to another position. And I don't mind it. I mean, he was assistant at Roosters, assistant coach at Melbourne, did a really good job at both those clubs. And, you know, 2 years ago, obviously their attack struggled this year. They had a lot of injuries. 2 years ago, the Knights had, I think their attack was top 3-4 in the comp. So they've had some decent attack.
Was he attack coach at the Roosters and Melbourne?
I don't know what, I assume he fulfilled those roles, Crawls, but I don't know what his exact title was.
Yeah, definitely did attack at the Storm.
You're not sure about your stats today, aren't you?
But I think
I haven't prepared well.
Well, you know what? Let's get to some more. Rudy, you've uncovered some key information which explains the Dogs' decision to, some would say, blow up the season. Now, what stats have you got for us here? Talk us through...
I did a bit of digging today, Braith.
Yes.
Historical digging. And I found that historically you cannot win the comp, right, unless you're in the top 4 for attack, top 4 for defence, right?
Who's saying this?
I've done a bit of digging, Braith. Talked to a few people, done a bit of research.
From the Bulldogs?
That would have taken a lot of time, really.
Just, you know, done a bit of
but
digging.
We're talking about the Bulldogs, so is it related to them or not? In relation to the Bulldogs. Okay.
Because it explains why, one of the reasons, not the entire reason, it explains why they went and got Lachlan Galvin. Because their attack wasn't in the top 4 at the comp, as I understand it, at the point they made some of those changes.
What was the Penrith Panthers attack last year when they won the competition?
I've got no idea, Braith.
I've got it right here.
Have you already got? You've stitched me up. You said you were going to stitch me up.
I'm just saying.
Okay, what do you got for me?
They were 6th in attack last year.
At what point? At the end of the regular season?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know where your argument just falls over, though?
Tell me.
Gus told us the other night.
That is a stitch up.
Well, how's that a stitch up?
Before the show, I told you about this stat.
Yeah, and
so
I went and had a look.
You did not tell me you had that stat.
Where have you got
that?
Where have you got the stat
And I did say, can I just say, I said, historically, you generally, I didn't say it happens every time. I said you generally need to be in the top 4 in attack and defence.
So there are exceptions. You go and bring in a halfback to fix the problem. You go and bring in a kid to play halfback, who Gus conceded the other night has never played halfback. and that's going to fix your problem.
Well, I think that was the goal. Obviously, it was.
The Sharks are 5th in attack right now.
Can't win the comp.
So they
Brady said
can't
they
win.
can't win the comp.
The Broncos are 6th in attack right now.
Ooh, I don't think that could be trouble.
So they can't win the comp. So the only team that can win the comp is Melbourne.
You're
right now.
taking it literally. Literal. It's not every time.
How else are you meant to take it?
I'm not saying this is the
But you
rule
said- you
every
said they
time.
made- you said
I
they
said
made a decision
historically, you need
based
to be
on-
in the top 4 historically. You need to be in
historically.
the top 4 in attack and defence to win the comp. Okay, there's exceptions to every rule.
Okay.
But obviously, if you looked at the way they were playing, and I know you guys are going to wrap them deluxe and say they were top of the ladder, but as I said
not gonna
on
say
Monday
anything.
night,
I'm sick
they
of
had a
it.
soft draw, they had 3 buys. I can rattle it all out for you, right? I think they played 2 top 8 teams.
We've heard this many
Okay.
times. We've got no interest in
So
going any further.
they needed to spark the
So
attack.
the
They
AI
went and got Lachlan
the AI
Galvin,
system
one of the best young players in rugby league.
Yeah.
He plays 5'8".
He does play 5'8", but they thought he could play halfback.
Okay, now, Rudy, got a few questions for you.
What do you got, Braith?
Is Matt Burton a 6 or is he a centre?
Well, I think it probably depends what happens with young Mitchell Woods next year. If Mitchell Woods is... well, you can't buzz me for that. If Mitch Woods plays first grade, I imagine Galvin goes to 6, Burton goes to centre.
Okay, is Crichton a centre or a fullback?
Depends what happens with Mitch Woods next year, Braith. If Mitch Woods plays first grade, then Crichton would obviously potentially move to fullback.
Is Galvin a 6 or a 7?
That's a broken record here, Braith. Depends what happens if Mitch Woods is ready for first grade next year. He'll play halfback, Galvin at 6.
Is Connor Tracy on the outer?
Oh, he could be if Mitch Woods is ready for first grade next year.
Okay,
Well,
is
but
Mitch
Braith,
Woods...
This is why...
Is Mitch Woods ready to play first grade?
Well, I don't know. But I'm told he was very close to playing some first grade this year. Braith, this is why it's a huge off-season.
It is right, and this is my point.
It's a massive off-season.
This is my point, and we're having a bit of fun with this, right? Was this you putting it together today?
No, I've never smoked. That's not the photo, mate.
No, really, we're having a laugh, right, and having a bit of fun with this. But really, after certainly you look at all this, right? And the club bought Burton to play 6, and now he's looking to move to centres, and they bought Crichton to play centres, but now there's a chance he may play fullback. Where do they go? Where do they go?
Here's the issue you've got, right? Lachlan Galvin, so they're talking next year that Mitchell Woods will be the 7, right? Who
maybe it depends on his pre-season.
Depends on his pre-season, but regardless of his pre-season, right? We'll go back to your historical explanations. Historically, young halfbacks don't come in for their first season and play the full year. So they've gone and bought Short O'Sullivan, right? Yeah. Who we've seen over the years. He's a very, very wise footballer. He knows the game backwards, but he hasn't got the speed. He's been at numerous clubs and he's not going to get you to where you want to go. So it is Woods. By playing Galvin at 5'8" ahead of Burton, my argument there is Matt Burton is an elite 5'8" right now and will be next year. Lachlan Galvin is still on the improve.
I think he's an elite 5'8".
I
think he's an elite centre.
Yeah. I think he's an elite 5'8" for the Bulldogs because when Burton hits the go button, the Bulldogs go with him. And I'm not convinced Galvin is at that stage of his career where he's good enough to be putting Matt Burton out of Matt Burton's preferred spot, which is 5'8".
I think we saw enough from Lachie Galvin on the weekend to suggest that with an organising 7, right, he's got enough in him to hit the go button. Yeah. And I think Canterbury are a better balanced, more potent footy side if Galvin's at 6, and they should start the year with either Sean O'Sullivan or Mitchell Woods.
I reckon go Mitch Woods. Mitch Woods is...
Whichever one, right?
I'm just saying...
A lock in a 7.
I reckon throw him in there. Mitch Woods has been touted now as a boom rookie and 7 for a long period of time. I think he's ready. He thinks he's ready. I know that for a fact. Get him in there. Get that combination of him and Galvin going. And
so you'll play Burton in the centre?
This is where I'm getting to. I think, because we've worked out, and the Bulldogs, I'm sure, have worked out now, they need to get their 6 and 7 combination firing early so that as the season goes on, it is settled and they can then, build around that. So I would start with the 2. You got 2. You got the next biggest thing at 7 and the next biggest thing at 6. You've got them together here, right? So Gus has done that, and this is why he did it, because he was planning for this down the track. It may be a little bit premature, but why not? Just throw them in there, see how they go, build off the back of that. But that leads them to the bigger problem now. Is that where does Burton, where does Crichton, where does Sherry, where does Tracy, where do they all fit into this? Who's going to be the 4 guy? And I know we kind of touched on it last night, but this is going to become an issue. It's going to become a problem.
Aren't they a more potent side if you've got Crichton on one side, Burton on the other, with Galvin at 6?
Where's Sherry?
On the wing.
on the
Carayannis.
wing. I don't see him as a winger.
He's got tough carries. He can have some tough carries coming out of his own end. But if he's the guy to make way, I think that is less.
Is it a more potent side if this decision forces Matt Burton out of the club?
Well, you'd have to have
I'll maintain Burton will be a better 5'8" next year than Lachlan Galvin. So this is a long-term project. I'll also say with Mitch Woods and a lot of young halfbacks coming through, let's just use Sam Walker as an example here. Because Sam Walker was the most talented young player of his time.
Takes time.
And you look at his development, like we're talking, 3, 4 years that Sam's been riding the wave and he's still getting to where we all know he's going to. But this is going to be a patient
They got Sean
process.
O'Sullivan there as a backup there. That's what I would do. I'd go Mitch Woods, Sean O'Sullivan as a backup, and hopefully they don't go around in circles again and have to go back to the old, to Galvin at 7 again and all that, because that is probably an option or a possibility if it doesn't.
Well, the concerning thing is then if you've got Hayward who hasn't played a lot of 9, then you've got these young kids at 6 and 7. That's where it becomes problematic there. But we've seen Matt Burton's played a lot of 5'8" now. And if you've got a young half, whether it's Galvin, whether it's Mitchell Woods, Matt Burton's not getting the side around a paddock. That's not his role.
All right, thank you, Mick. Thank you, Rudy. That was well done. Those numbers were impressive.
Till you stitched me up, but anyway.
How's it a stitch up?
This feels like a buzz moment. I'm getting hammered by you blokes. Stitched up.
It's okay, mate. Up next, we preview the finals with Nick Ennis and James Graham, and tomorrow night the Ryder Cup begins. You can catch all the action live on Channel 503.
Live on Fox League. Let's watch it unfold. Here we go again.
Welcome back. Now it's time to preview the finals with two of the best, Mick Ennis and James Graham. Welcome, legends. Now, Adam Fanor-Blake, we just saw a bit of footage and that little teaser. What a season he's had. He has been so big for the Sharks. Does he give them the advantage over Melbourne?
Yeah, I think he does, especially when you consider Melbourne are out without their big man as well. Adam Fanor-Blake and his late footwork has really brought Blake Brayley into play. And I think as well as Fanor-Blake, his other forwards complement him really well, especially with that strong bench. So with that strong bench of the likes of Talakai, Kafusi, Hamlin-Welle, even Nicola now, that you get the ability to maintain the intensity. A lot of the times your bench comes on and it's a noticeable dip, and that's part of the salary cap management. But I feel with the Sharks, they can match that intensity for the full 80 with the quality of the bench players.
I agree.
Yeah, no, definitely. He was brought as the marquee signing, wasn't he? He was the one that Cronulla have spoken about really since Andrew Fafita departed when he was part of that premiership side. That they've been missing that real unpredictable, unorthodox power game or enforcer, and he's brought that. It'll be interesting to see. Melbourne have often got those tactics to single out some individuals to see how they try and counter, because at the moment it's one of the form combinations of the comp, Blake Brayley and Adam Fanor-Blake.
Yeah, and Melbourne have got an incredible record against Cronulla down there at Amy Park, and a lot of people, and a lot of people have written the Sharks off. I feel like that has shifted over the last at least week, right? Go back 2 weeks against the Roosters. You give them a red-hot chance, don't you?
After the game the other day, I left the Bulldogs, when they played the Bulldogs in that last round, I left there, and I remember having my eldest boy with me, and I said, mate, Cronulla can win the comp. They've just, the elements of their game are there, they're healthy, key players are playing well, and their bench. And it's transformed throughout the finals, really good against the Roosters, wasn't perfect, but then went to Canberra, tough road trip, coming up against the minor premiers, got it done. They head to Melbourne full of confidence, and they've got this healthy arrogance about them at the moment, where they're backed into a corner where no one believes in them. Fitzy's got them absolutely believing internally, and I think they'll beat Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really confident in saying I think they'll beat Melbourne. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, at the start of the playoffs, no one gave them a chance down to the final four, and they can win it now. Of course, there's only 4 teams left. And for me, the Sharks, they've enjoyed the tag of everybody writing them off. I'd like to see the Sharks do well, so I'm going to continue to write them off and have them maybe play that clip or whatever. Because that's what they've leaned into it, where they've been this underdog tag. They've felt disrespected. When you feel disrespected, you have your back against the wall. You choose to fight back. It's been inspiring stuff by the Sharks. Their defence has been incredible. I do feel, though, looking back at their past 2 games, it's been good without being great. They're going to have their game of the season to beat Melbourne.
I'll ask you, Jimmy, can they win the comp then?
Well, there's 4 teams left, sure, yeah.
I thought you were going to say no, so you gave them motivation.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, yeah. No, they can't. They can't.
Do you think this would have been driven by Fitzy, or is this something that comes within the playing group?
I think there was probably some key elements this year where, obviously, everyone sort of was writing Cronulla off, but you forget that they made a prelim final last year. They were playing Penrith this time last year, and some near misses fuel you, don't they, as a player? And so they get to that Roosters game on the Central Coast, full strength, up against an under-strength Roosters side through an Origin period where they should have had the dream run with no Origin players, and they were absolutely taken to task there. I commentated that game. I left there absolutely stunned with their performance. The Roosters put the cleaners through them. And, there were some moments this year where they've obviously sat back. Melbourne was another one, 30-6 down there, which they've spoken about in recent days, where they've gone, no, we need to make something of this year, and their roster's been together for a long time, Crawls.
And that's when it turned, isn't it, with that Melbourne game?
It was, mate.
What about on the flip side of that, Pezzett? Sorry, not Pezzett, Hughes.
Yeah.
Jimmy, how do you go? Do you go out and go after him like he's coming back from a dislocated shoulder, then a broken arm?
Absolutely.
How big a risk?
Absolutely, you have to target him. Melbourne don't present many weaknesses, and this is a clear weakness. We saw in round 27, on the 4th of September, it'll be 24 days on Sunday when, it'll be 22 days that Hughes comes back on Friday. And look, he was still recovering from the shoulder. The wrist injury came from the fact he changed his tackle technique. And I think you'd be naive to think that the Sharks wouldn't want to chase him and go after him and make him make tackles, put him in uncomfortable positions, whether that's bringing players underneath or sending big bodies like Adam Fanua-Blake at him.
It's really easy at this time of year to forget what happened in week 1. Like, you get caught up in those sides like Cronulla and obviously Penrith that have performed last week, and so you forget parts of that Melbourne Storm game. 2 weeks ago we were talking about Jonah Pezzett and how important his kicking game was to the Melbourne Storm. My concern is does Melbourne's game, in particular their kicking game, because we're going to obviously focus on Nathan Cleary. Braden Trindle's been one of the form players of the final series. And it's been his kicking game that's been the difference at times between the two sides. Do Melbourne have the kicking game? If Jahrome Hughes breaks his arm in the first 10 minutes or something goes pear-shaped for them, do they have the kicking game to match Cronulla with Tyrone Wishart and Cameron Munster?
No.
The answer's no.
No, not without Pezzett.
And so in big games, and you talk about that suffocating sort of style of footy, it's fascinating to see.
That is the concern. Yeah. He needs to be fit, and he needs to get through the majority of the game. Now, to the next game. Reynolds, they've brought him in for the prelim. Happy with this? Think it's the right decision?
I think it's important he comes back into the team. I don't know Brisbane's best spine combination from what I've seen this year. The hope is that Michael Maguire does. At the beginning of the season, I thought it looked Walsh at fullback, Mam, Reynolds, Hunt at 9. And they have the option to go with that. For me, points and this spine are not going to be the problem. It's the best spine that stacks up defensively. I think that's the spine that Maguire has to pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a reshuffle there. Whatever his best defensive spine is what he needs to run with.
What about with Reece Walsh? Like we speak about it in the media that the two halves have to bring him into the game and let him be the man who dominates. Is that how it works, or
it's interesting?
Is it about Reynolds keeping to the plan?
I think Reynolds' key elements, I think, is he needs to defend well. That's the big thing. He needs to defend well, he needs to kick well. But the other part, and I saw some vision before of Jared Hayne and Benny Barber. And I remember the Benny Barber the period he was in at Cronulla when he was white hot, and also at the Bulldogs there in 2012. And a lot of our job as the spine was to put our ego in the back pocket and put Ben in positions to do what he does best. And that's the confidence that I have in Adam Reynolds. Adam's at that point of his career. He's won a competition. He's played State of Origin. He's not chasing a Kangaroos jersey. He's chasing a premiership. And that's what he's gone to Brisbane to do, and that's what he wants his legacy to be. He'll go out there on Sunday and try and put Reece in the positions.
I agree.
To unlock his best footy. That's what I'm confident in, and that's why I think Reynolds is a good selection.
Yeah. All right, now Tyson Smoothie, Mick. You think the selection of Madge?
Yeah, well, I think Madge tried over the pre-season to set the tone, and that's why he tried to go with Michael Maguire-style players. Where he had Kobe Hetherington start and he pushed Paddy Carrigan up front. Then we saw Gajewski start on an edge instead of Perkura. Brought Shibasaki in. It was a great story. He fought his way through the pre-season. Everyone went, okay, well, Madge just, rewarding effort players here. That's what Madge loves. But he quickly learnt that the reason Brisbane made the grand final in 23 and the style of footy that Brisbane like to play, they need Pat Carrigan ball playing through the middle. And they need that reliable forward in Payne Haas. And then they've also got Jensen there. I think the ball playing of Smoothie just gives them another layer of attack through the middle. He doesn't need to be brilliant. He just needs to be able to hold the ruck defensively and, again, just push the ball, a couple of passes to Reynolds and Walsh on the edge.
See, I worry about Brisbane's middle. I look back at Penrith's display against the Bulldogs, and they battered the Bulldogs through the middle of the field. Take the brilliance of Cleary, the finishing
Did they
of
batter
Alan.
So they battered them with Moses Leota, but did they batter them physically through big bodies, or was it Brian Toto and Alamotti?
Well, it was line speed, it was intensity, and the Dogs in that first half, I don't think they got to play the ball in the opposition's half from memory. So, look, you need some, other than Payne Haas, you're going to get Staggs in there, but you need some middle forwards that are going to bend that line back because the intensity of their line speed is second to none. You're going to be coming off your own end. You need some big bodies there. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Willison start because the Penrith Panthers do not give up leads.
Yeah.
If you miss that start, if you're chasing your tail, it's almost an impossible task.
It's going to be fascinating to see how they go about things both sides, because that left edge of Penrith was a concern. In the second half, there was a tactical adjustment by the Dogs, and they got them, they exposed them there, and Staggs has been red hot. The other side of that is what Cleary, and it's a brutal game sometimes, what he's done to Adam Reynolds in that side of the field, that right edge. It'll be fascinating.
All right, thanks, boys. Quickly, before we go, who's in the grand final?
For me, it's Melbourne and Panthers.
Cronulla, Penrith.
All right, beautiful. Up next is Joel Kane's weekend forecast, and following us, it's NRLW on Fox. Welcome back. Now it's time for an update from Sportsbet with the great Joel Kane.
Oh, Braith, what about the mood? What about the promo Fox have got? Broncos and the Panthers with Pink Floyd?
Yeah, Pink Floyd.
My hair stood up.
Best of the year by a long way, I reckon.
How good are you two? I want to ask you this.
Okay.
What do you see here, boys? What do these jerseys players have in common?
They're Sharks forwards.
Sharks forwards. Mostly middle forwards except Brent and Nicker. Now, why do I say that?
Not sure.
Blake Brayley, right, 14 try assists, having a year. He's had a few tremendous years. And for those followers on the feed, we're on at 100 to 1. This is his play. Yeah. All of those players on the list have scored off that exact play.
Is that right?
Exact play. Every single person, and some of them a number of times. Toby Rudolph scored this a couple of weeks ago, almost did the same last week. And Harry Grant, he's not as prolific at this play as Brayley, but he loves hitting the short man as well. Well, King can score a try, but Grant can also find it, or Tukamanu as well. So where we're going here, here's Grant, short runner, bang, Stefano.
He does that a lot.
Does it a lot, right? So we've got two gun bullets here, firing. Not often do I tip front rowers. The NRL Weekly Hub, I've put it on the feed as well so you can copy it. I love this bet. Any two of these players to score a try in the prelim, $13. I love it. Bring it on.
Nice work. Thank you, Sugar.
Pink
Great as
Floyd.
always. Thank
Good.
you, Crawls, for filling in for Gordy yet again. And that's it for NRL 360 for this week.